Hey everyone, welcome back. So today's podcast is, as always, sponsored by Strong Tower Nutrition. Strong Tower Nutrition is my supplement shop, just strictly online. You can find us at stnutrition.com. You can follow us at Strong Tower Nutrition on Instagram, Strong Tower Nutrition on Facebook. And also stnutrition.com, where you can find the supplements that I'm trying to provide to you guys. You know, in this day and age right now, we have to take care of our immune system, not just worry about what's covering our mouths. You know, you have to worry about what's going through your actual body, care about your overall health. You know, get out there and exercise. You know, there's still time to do it before the fall or winter kicks in and then we're stuck inside for real. So get your exercise going, get your nutrition in order, and put some supplements in your diet, and also know how to use them. We provide great information. If you go to stnutrition.com, we have a little chat section where you can just click on it and it comes right to me, and I'll answer you and your questions personally. And then also I'll give you 10% off if you type in the promo code STRONG, STRONG, stnutrition.com. It's the place to go, man. So I've known today's guest for a long time, and we actually went to elementary school together, and I've just reached out to him because I just saw that he actually dropped a new single July 31st called Just As You Are. He's out of Nashville, Tennessee. You can find his music on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you get your music. You can also follow him on Instagram at Jonathan_Baines. So here he is, Jonathan Baines. It's my foundation. It's my faith. It's my work ethic. It's my drive. It's everything that I've tried to build for myself that has made me who I am. I'll do what it takes to make you believe. Pretty good, dude. Thanks for doing this, man.
Absolutely. I'm sorry we had that little difficulty there.
Nah, man. I think I have a difficulty with everyone every time we try and do something, you know?
It's a sign. I think people are over Zoom meetings and stuff, so people are like, I don't know, maybe it's a sign we all need to actually be in person again.
Oh, yeah, man. It's crazy. I have had more people on like in person lately, because a lot of people, like, it's not like they don't care. It's just like, you know what I mean? It's not like we're shaking hands and hugging and stuff, but
right,
stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could be up. You're still in Delaware, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't been to Delaware since it was a wedding we went to, family wedding. It's been a minute. So I think 2.5 years ago, because our families have kind of met in between, you know, halfway or whatever for vacation and stuff. But
Okay.
yeah, are you guys still able to kind of go out and about and stuff, or do you?
We can go out and about. I mean, I think they just declared like a 30-day like state of emergency again or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, but you know, like I go to work and I come home. You know, like I'm not really into, like, we don't even go to the store or anything. We just get it sent to the house.
Yeah. Do you guys have like Amazon Prime or something?
We got Amazon, you got Instacart, you get if we need something from Target, if we need something from the grocery store, we just get it all, you know, sent here.
Yeah.
So it just makes it easier. You know what I mean? And then I don't have to worry about getting yelled at by someone because I'm not wearing a mask or something like that, and have to deal with all that drama.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a little different here in Nashville. I don't know if it's the South but you got a whole lot of people that don't really want to abide by rules, and yet there's, you know, which I get both sides of it. I mean, my wife has to wear a mask every day to work, and I obviously every store that we go into, we have to wear masks, and we're like in phase 2 right now, which is all the bars and restaurants can be open, but it's like at, I think, half capacity. Then I think the next phase is like 3/4 capacity before it gets back to like normal. But I don't know. I think by the time 2021 rolls around, things will be back to normal in most states, I hope.
Oh, I think so. I think once a vaccine comes out, I think a lot of people were rushed towards that and just really, and I think that'll settle a lot of people down.
Yeah.
So, and of course, like I think after the election, I think a lot of things are going to be different. You know what I mean? I'm not saying
Yep.
it's a fake thing or anything. I'm just saying a lot of it is politicized. But
Yeah.
so once that ends, I think
Yeah.
we'll start seeing the changes. But, yeah,
For
definitely,
sure.
beginning of 2021. I think it'll start going uphill again,
Yeah.
back to what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. It's definitely. I think there's a lot people are realizing and recognizing maybe we could have done differently, but I don't know. You never know because you don't want to. You don't want to be insensitive to those who have lost their lives to COVID or
of
family
course,
members who've lost people, but
right?
also at the same time, it's like, you know, people die all the time, and how do we balance that and continue living our life? And that whole statistic from the CDC came out with I think what was it, 6% of the
Actually had COVID. Yeah.
actually had COVID, and the
Yep.
rest were comorbidities. So, and even that, it's like we know people in the medical field that um, are researching. I don't know if you can hear my dog in the background; he's whining. Um, but yeah, it's just hard to balance like what is true and what's not true.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, man,
we'll
it's
see what happens
crazy,
next.
crazy thing. Like I never thought we would experience anything like it, you
Yeah.
know. But so Nashville, man, like what got you guys out there?
So long story short, in 2012, my dad had a friend who came to our church to speak for like a conference they were doing or something. And I was leading worship at the church at the time, and he asked me to come down to Nashville and visit and check out the church. A church here in Nashville that he leads. They run about, I think, like 1,200 people or something per service. And not that numbers matter, but to give context, it was a fairly larger church, and they wanted me to. I guess I don't really know what their plans were, but I guess they were building their worship team and their staff, and so he had asked if I'd come down. So I never actually got to visit, but I had been wanting to move anyway because my parents were moving. My dad resigned from his position, and they were moving to North Carolina, and then my brother was already in North Carolina, Caleb, and so I moved. I was like, it was either here in New York or LA, and New York was too expensive, as much as I would have loved to live in the city. And then LA was so far. I knew if starting out, if I moved out there, it probably would be a long while before I came home because
Mm.
it's expensive to fly. I mean, it's like $350 round trip to fly from Philly to, or well, Carolina to LA. And then I knew some people in Nashville. I didn't have any friends here really, but my parents knew people, so I just thought it was the best option. And then I started dating my wife in January. So in 2012, I had already planned to come to Nashville by myself. I was going to find roommates and live here on my own. And then we started dating in January of 2013 officially. We had kind of been talking before that. And things just moved rather quickly because I don't know if you know Janie at all.
Yeah.
She went to Red Lion for
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, yeah. And we'd been friends since we were middle school. Obviously, we're never interested. She was dating somebody else. I was dating other girls, and I think it was in March of 2013. I think we kind of started realizing like this is who, like God was clearly making a way for this to happen.
Right.
And so I proposed in April, and we were married in June. And I was supposed to move to Nashville right away, but we waited a couple of months just so we could have a little bit more security. And we moved here actually yesterday, September 4th, was 7 years since our 7 year
Wow.
Nash-iversary.
Nashville.
So yeah, but yeah, so in terms of the church, I came here. We started going to the church. The Donaldson Fellowship is the name of the church in Donaldson, Tennessee, which is in like the northeast side of Nashville. Which, by the way, if I can hear my dog, if you hear him and he's too loud, just say something to me. I can go
No, you're
outside.
fine.
And so we ended up, like, we were at that church for a year, and then we both started working for Nordstrom. I got a job in men's suits. And then we just kind of, like, we loved the church, we loved the people, but nothing was really working out there in terms of um, the, I guess like the internship and like just all the ideas we had talked about before. They weren't really, like, I kind of went down there with the expectation I was going to get hired, and I don't, that was never said. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess that was maybe something I assumed. But yeah, when we finally decided to leave Donaldson, we were looking for another church. And it literally was just what we felt like the Lord wanted us to do. It had nothing to do with, again, the people there or anything. Like, we still love those people very much. And then we started going to the Belonging Co., which we've been there for 6 years now. So really it was a mix of, obviously the music industry was here for me, so the opportunities there, I knew I was gonna flourish in that if I did it right. I knew there would be obviously many job opportunities for Janie, as with any city. And Nashville's still relatively, I mean, people here would say it's expensive. I kind of laugh at that because in New York and LA and living up north, I mean, people are paying. I have friends in New York City who are paying $3,000 a month in rent for like a 1-bedroom
Right.
apartment.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't even pay that for a mortgage right now, if I'm being honest.
Right. Yep.
So, you can still get a 1-bedroom here in Nashville for like $1,100 a month.
Yeah.
Now, if you live downtown in like the lofts, the really nice apartments that are like right in the center of downtown, you're gonna probably pay closer to $2,000. But yeah, the living expenses weren't as bad, and it still had all the opportunities. And Nashville's booming. I mean, I moved here 7 years ago, and half the buildings you see downtown were not there when I moved here 7 years ago. I mean, it's grown exponentially. So
Yeah, a lot of comedian podcasts I've been listening to. A couple of them are actually moving to Nashville from LA.
yeah,
They're like, "Hey man, I gotta get out of this place. We need
yep,
to go somewhere else." There's a couple of them I listen to,
yeah,
and it's funny because I thought you moved there just for your music.
yeah. I mean, essentially that was the goal. I mean, as long we've known each other since what, elementary school.
Yeah.
I've always been singing,
Mm-hmm.
and after I did um, some stuff in high school, and then went on to college and pursued music there and everything. When I came home, I worked for Amazon actually for a couple of years. I was a coach there, and I took just really time to kind of assess what I wanted to do. And so when the church Donaldson offered me, to come down and do this internship, um, I took it upon myself to see that as just not just an opportunity to be, because I didn't really want to be in church ministry. I mean, obviously we are regular church attendees and we're very involved in our church, but that was not the goal, was to be in church ministry full time.
Right.
But I saw it as an opportunity to, all right, if this is the door that's opening, then I'm going to take it and then see what happens from there. And so I've, more now than ever, I believe this. I often think God will take you somewhere and you think you might be going somewhere for a reason, but there's always another reason why he takes you to that place.
Oh, I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So I definitely think Donaldson was the door that I needed to walk through. But obviously when I got here, I realized he had other plans. And really, I mean, gosh, our move here, I would say, if anything, because I've been here for 7 years, and sometimes I look at myself like, what am I doing? Like, I'm finally putting music out. People don't see all the behind the scenes stuff that you're doing, and all the songs that I've been writing and stuff. But this felt like the right time to officially release music. But I look back at the last 7 years and I go, well, I had all this time with my wife. I mean, we had a lot of personal work we had to go through, like grief we had to work through from our individual experiences, like lots of stuff like that, it sometimes you think I'm 30 years old. I thought I'd be, further down the road with music and all and on tour and all this. And even through COVID, you kind of realize like all that can come to a halt really quick. I mean, Nashville is, they are hurting when it comes to the music industry right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
People aren't playing live shows. I mean,
Right.
that's how people make their money. You know, nobody makes money off selling records anymore. So,
Right.
but yes, I that was the goal. To answer your question, was I was supposed to move here for music, and that was the big reason. But you know, also to be married and get away, and I think the wisest thing you can do as a new married couple is distance yourself from, you know, maybe the town that you grew up in or family, not in a negative way, but just like get away from, like, set the boundary for yourself as a couple.
Right.
And make sure you develop your own family. Because it would have been really easy for people like Janie and I to just kind of depend on everybody else if we had lived in Delaware. I mean, we probably just would have been at my in-laws' house for dinner every night.
Right.
Which I love them, but
Yeah.
I don't want to live that life.
Oh yeah, I know. So what are you guys doing? Like I've seen you appeared in like a music video. Are you just doing music, or are you
You
trying
mean
to?
the one that I released, or the one on? There's a couple.
You were
music
in it
videos.
for a country artist or something like that. You were
Yeah.
just in it, yeah.
Yeah. Kaylin Garner. So that was a video. So let's see. It's been 2 years now, over 2 years now. I was asked to shoot there's a film college here. It's Watkins Film School. It's actually one of the best in the country. And they do student films every year, but their student films are really, really good. Because sometimes if you've ever seen a student film, it's like, it's very clear somebody filmed it on their iPhone.
Yeah.
It's not great at all.
Right.
But this is, and no shame in that. I mean, you know, people are doing the best that they can with what they have. But they have these auditions, and it's actually great for people who are in acting, because I was trying to get an agent at the time to get some acting jobs. And you can get reels by doing these student films. So I had a couple friends who landed like 3 or 4 films in the whole semester, and then they had 4 really quality good films in different genres that they could show to an agent. So I got asked to do this film called OIS, which is called Olympus. It stands for Olympus in Session, and it's a modern day take. My friend Chandler wrote the script on like the Greek gods.
Okay.
But it's a modern day. So like we were all sitting at a table. It's actually going to be in the Nashville Film Festival this fall, I believe, or it's either this fall or next fall. So she's still in production with it, but it's like I played the god of death, Phobos, which I didn't even know I thought was Hades, but apparently not. I don't know. So she wrote the script, and it was like a 15-minute short film. And then from that, I met the guy who played Hades in the film, Aaron. He owns Scotty Films. He is married to, or engaged to, Ashley, her parents are pretty well known in like the country music realm. So just trying to connect all those dots there of how I got that gig. And so they were looking for, Kaylin Garner is the artist, and he wrote the song called Back Home. And the premise of the video was they were looking for a guy that was his friend, like one of his best friends. And it was really cool, the whole concept. I don't know if you picked up in the video, but it was like the younger version, the kids, and then the older version of us. So that was a lot of fun. We shot that out in Cookeville, Tennessee, and that was my first country music video I've ever been featured in. And we had a really good time with it. And we spent the whole day like just going to different sites, and we had that last scene. One of the last scenes you see in the video of us around the fire and the kids shooting off fireworks was at somebody's farm, and we just spent the whole night like shooting off fireworks and hanging out. And
so it's pretty much just a chill time, and you just had the cameras rolling.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely work. They put you to work, and they have their, you know, deadlines and all that. But it's definitely one of the more. I think that's what I love about country music. Even though I'm not a country artist, I have a lot of friends in country music. Is there's something about the just kind of. It just it speaks to a lot of, I think, what people are going. A lot of people can relate to what's in country music, because it's, you know, it's family, it's this video in particular was about obviously him missing his hometown, and that vibe was throughout the whole day, just being with family and hanging out and not so concentrated on. Whereas like a lot of pop music, like I'm working on something right now for a video I'm doing that's very like concentrated, and most of the shots are going to be directly on me and my wife, and that's a little bit more intense, so it's nice to be able to kind of experience, it was cool for me to be on set and experience that.
So with a music video, I've always wondered, do you play like the music in the background, and like how does that work?
Pretty much.
Is that what it is?
The one we're doing, I have to wait for, we're doing a remix actually of the song, and that's going to be the video. And it's probably not going to be out for a little bit, but because the guy who's working on it for me, I think we're talking like October is when it'll come out. But yeah, I mean, it'll probably just be, I'll probably have one of the production assistants there just holding my iPhone playing the song in the back, unless we can find speakers. I mean, typically, like if you're on just from what I've seen in sets that I've been on, if you're on like a big, budget or something that a label's providing, the budget for that, normally they'll have, the whole place will be filled with speakers, and they'll play the music really loud and kind of but if you're shooting independent, you kind of have to, whatever your budget is what you have to do. So I'm not going to pay for speakers right now. So I'm just going to get somebody to hold my iPhone and play the song in the background. But.
So what, dude, I love your song, the Just As You Are.
Yep.
What do you consider yourself some kind of genre? Like I was trying to guess, is that like pop? Is that R&B? Like what kind of, is that a mixture?
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that, because I was just talking to some friends of mine about this recently, and everybody, I think, has kind of developed their own idea of what I sound like, which is fine by me.
Yeah.
Because if I am so concerned, I mean, it's definitely pop for sure. But pop is so broad these days, like if I put myself in one, like if I try to say like I'm pop soul and I like make that my genre, I think it's a little bit more difficult for me to like then write stuff that might kind of color outside the lines a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense. Like right now I'm working on a song the next song that's being released come mid-October, which will be the next single. That is definitely, I would say, up to par to Just As You Are, if not better, in my opinion. But it's more cinematic. So it's still pop, but it's cinematic in that it, we're even kind of pitching it to some TV stuff to see if it can get placed in like some TV shows. But yeah, that's it. I don't know, bro. I'm definitely pop music for sure.
Yeah.
But I think I'm always going to be an artist that kind of weaves in and out of all the subgenres.
Right.
If that makes sense. So I'll have some pop soul. I'll have some, pop songs that maybe are a little bit more mainstream in terms of like what you would hear on like Charlie Puth type stuff. Then I'll have some John Legend mix in there. But then I wrote a song the other day that it's not country. It's definitely a pop, like soulful song, but the lyrics very much sound like a country song. So I'm not marketing myself as a pop country artist at all.
Right.
I love country music, but yeah, I mean, I think the best thing an artist can do, and, granted, it's not like I've lived super long or anything, so I'm not saying that this is like golden advice.
You're right, yeah.
I've just seen a lot of people try to box themselves in, and then they often wonder why they're not. This is just from what I see from other artists.
Oh, yeah.
And so what I'm trying to do is just write what comes naturally and let the voice that God's given me and what I'm writing speak for itself.
Right.
And, obviously I want to be smart. I don't want to, I'm doing my best to take wisdom from those around me, but I don't want to write stuff that's just, you know, I don't want to go down a lane if it's not going to be, I know this is like so cliche, but like true to who I am,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody's going to buy that if I'm singing stuff that I can't even relate to myself.
Right.
Yeah. So,
But I think it makes sense, and I think it's a kind of like a good idea not to label yourself. Like, just let your audience do it for you.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you just
Yep.
make what you make.
Yep.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? So are you
Absolutely.
writing? Are you writing the music and the lyrics, or are you having someone help you? Or
It's always co-writes. So this
okay,
song for sure was a Just As You Are. I wrote with my friend Ben Schofield, and his artist name is actually Mylen, Mylen. So you should definitely check him out. He's got some really great songs on Spotify. But he's a fantastic producer, super talented. He lived in LA for a little while, and now he's back here. Um, so I went in with the idea of what I wanted to write, and from that came the song. And then we did the same with the next song, this upcoming single that'll be out mid-October. I wrote with him, and then another artist named Sarah Reeves. She was pretty big in the Christian music industry, and now she's more pop. She's like in the pop industry. But it's interesting. I love her because her sound has not really changed in terms of like you still know it's her when she's singing, which I think is awesome. It wasn't like this drastic, like she went from Christian to pop, and it was like you don't know who she is. It was like a very seamless transition. So when we brought her in, I was really excited because I knew we were going to get something fantastic out of it because she's been doing this for a long time. So sometimes it'll be, you know, it'll be like, for me, when I write, it's mainly I have an idea, I know what I want to say, and then I need a top liner, is what they call them. Somebody who's going to be able to really take the story or what I'm singing about and form it into something that's marketable, that people are going to want to sing to, that makes sense. Because, I mean, I've written a bunch of songs that I could release, but they're not, it just doesn't hit. If it's not hitting me, like, oh, wow, this really hits me. I don't really know it's going to do that for anybody else. Maybe. So it's good for me to have other people involved because they kind of help. I don't really know too many people in Nashville that write their own music, like just them.
right,
Like my brother-in-law writes all his songs, but he's in a niche market. He's got his like, it's a very unique market of like folk post-cynical is what he calls it, indie rock. So he can sing about stuff that's really profound and deep and meaningful. And there's a certain crowd that's going to gravitate towards that. Whereas for what I'm doing, and not that he couldn't have millions of followers, but I am trying to write more mainstream music because it's what I love. And, I've always loved just good songs that are relatable to everybody. And that's just kind of what I want to write about. So yeah, and the writing thing is, I mean, I wasn't much of a writer before I moved to Nashville. In fact, I wasn't a writer at all until I moved to Nashville, and realized like, okay, if I'm going to make it in this town, I have to like, if I want to be around the people that, I respect, I got to start writing. So I'm still fairly new to, again, when it comes to the melodies and the music and all of that, fine. I know exactly what I want to, how I can, I know what to arrange. I know exactly what I want the melodies to sound like. And Ben's really good with that too. The guy I wrote this song with, Just As You Are, he's excellent at, like when we did the background vocals for this, he really like guided me through, try this, try this, try this. So I sat in a booth for a couple of hours and just recorded a bunch of like oohs and ahs,
yeah,
and tried different sounds, and then that's what you hear on the song.
right.
So it's a lot of fun. I mean, I love writing with other people. Not to say that I won't ever, I mean, it's actually funny you asked that question, because I just yesterday was working on a song by myself, and I thought I probably could finish this and put it out.
Yeah.
But, I'm always nervous, like, to put something out by myself
Right.
because
Right.
when you have a team behind you, there's more incentive for people to push it, for people to want to really help you. But like when you're writing stuff by yourself, that's pretty that's pretty vulnerable and scary
Yeah.
for me. But yeah, I would love to. I mean, the better I get, I mean, shoot, I would love to have a couple songs on an album that were just something that was very personal to me that I solely wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is this single going to be part of an album? Are you working on a full
Well,
thing?
that's the goal. Right now, we are working on the next single coming out in October, and then there's talks of a third single coming out in November. And then I'm definitely going to do a couple Christmas songs, and then throw the other two that I currently have out on like a vinyl, and probably do some giveaways. So the album is, I mean, I have enough ideas to write an album right now for sure. But a lot of that, is cost and all that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll campaign for that, or if I potentially may be doing a Kickstarter here soon, to cover, cost of some upcoming singles. But 2021, I would love to put out an album. If I could put out a solid album with 8 to 9 songs on it, and I would include the first 3 singles in that.
Yeah.
That would be the goal. So like this time next year, that would be amazing. But I'm not making any promises on that, just because, clearly if 2020 has taught us anything, it's very unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful what you're trying to plan and stuff like that, because you never know.
Right.
You know what I mean? But so I know like your brother and is into like hunting and stuff like that. Did you ever get into hunting
Yeah.
or anything?
No, not
Just
really.
not your
I mean,
thing?
I actually, the other day I told Janie, I said, I wish I could do that more with my brother. I would be very interested in it. For me, as you know, I was not, I mean, I was pursuing music. When I found music, I was like, I'm good at this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that in a, I don't mean that in any kind of conceited or cocky way. I just knew like God had given me a gift. And I think every kid just wants to find that thing that they're good at. And for Caleb, it was sports. For me, it was music. For Matthew, we always laugh. We say he's going to be like a secret billionaire one day. He's just like, I don't even know how he does what he does half the time. But yeah, I just knew what I was good at, and I wanted to stay there. A lot of it was a security blanket, especially when you're younger and you have a lot of insecurities. Like, I just didn't want to go after other stuff, because I felt like if I wasn't good at it, or I humiliated myself, then why even try? And I knew that I could sing, and I wasn't going to humiliate myself doing that.
Right.
So I just kind of stayed there. But now that I've gotten past especially in my mid-20s, I started really getting past like what people thought of me, and
Mm-hmm.
and obviously turning 30. There's something about turning 30 that just does that to you. You just really don't care anymore. I
know.
Yeah, I decided to pursue, other things, and I started boxing at a boxing club here and fell in love with it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I actually need to get back now that they've opened up. But it was the best workout of my life. And first class, I'll be honest, I was a little nervous, because I was just like, I know that's not hunting, but my point being trying new things. And, I thought I'm going to be terrible at this, and I was actually really good at it. And I'm like, I want to keep doing this. Like, there's no greater feeling than putting all of your frustration on a bag and beating the crap out of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you move on to people and start doing it to people.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, I mean, no, if Caleb wanted to go hunting, absolutely I would. I guess we just never have, but I'm not opposed to it now. I for sure think I would enjoy that more. I definitely enjoy being I hike a lot here. There's tons of hiking in Tennessee. I love being outside a lot more than I used to. And like I said, it's just because I've gotten over myself. And
Yeah. Because it's funny, because I was kind of like the opposite. Like, I wanted to go hunting like a lot when I was younger,
yeah,
but now I'm like a lot more sensitive
Hmm.
to animals. And like, I hate going to zoos. I hate seeing all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
Seeing someone shoot a deer, like, I'm like, they can do that. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
do it.
Really.
You know, I mean, I still eat meat and stuff. I'm not vegan or anything,
Right.
but yeah, I don't know. I just got more sensitive as I got older to it,
Yeah.
but I don't know
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. I mean, you change like that when you. Um, I think people, and I think it might be the climate too of our current,
Yeah, it
where our
could be.
nation is in the world. Like, I think people kind of are realizing the, that not everything is about the stuff that they have, or um, I think one thing quarantine has kind of, I mean, getting a little deep here, but I think one thing quarantine has kind of pushed um, people to think about is obviously their time at home, and they can't really run from their problems when they're stuck indoors.
Right.
And I saw that a lot growing up. I saw whether it was sporting events or hunting, or nothing wrong with any of those things. Um, people were constantly busy doing stuff
Mm-hmm.
on the weekends. And for where the hometown I grew up in, it was you were either at a baseball game or a basketball game, or you were hunting. And when you're constantly gone, from family or your spouse, you can't really solve issues, or you don't grow together or anything like that. So while I love all of those things, I think people are, and I know everybody's ready for sports to get back. I mean, I'm ready for Alabama football to come back, but I, I think people are realizing that it's not everything, and it's not the
Yeah.
most important thing in the world, which is nice to see, because it's it it's definitely, like anything, it brings people together. But um, if you don't have your priorities in line, none of that stuff really matters.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, so tell me a little bit more about this boxing. Like, how'd you find it, and how'd you like kind of what made you decide? Because I know you just wanted to do it as a workout, right? You weren't
Right.
looking to like try being a better fighter or something.
Yeah.
Um,
No.
so what made you look at boxing as a better workout? You know what I mean? Did someone get you
Yeah.
into it, or
Yeah. Next UFC fighter.
yeah,
Right. Um, I Yeah, I just needed an outlet, because I had had a lot of uh, pent up anger from just stuff in life. Everybody
yeah,
has their stuff they go through, and I was just angry about a lot of stuff, with things that had happened to my family, things that, you know, um, grief that my wife was going through, that I hated that she was experiencing that. And so you don't ever want to. I'm such a verbal processor, if you haven't figured that out, and I found myself kind of projecting all of my own stuff onto friends and family,
mm,
and so that wasn't good,
right,
because they can't fix that.
mm-hmm.
So I was like, what could I do? And I hate running, and I think part of it's just because I'm so tall, and my legs are like I have pretty big legs, and so every time I'm hitting the ground, it just hurts. I hate running. Swimming, I can only do so many. I mean, we have a pool, but if there's people there, it's just weird. So I was like, I need an outlet where I can like really work out and feel like I don't like yoga. Like Janie loves yoga. She likes the serene environment. That does nothing for me. I do not feel like I have exercised any of my, like, I need endorphins, lots of endorphins. Um, and I wasn't really like, I didn't have a gym membership, didn't really have anybody to lift weights with. So then I found Title Boxing downtown, and they have locations all over Nashville. And they're like, hey, it's $80 unlimited for a month. So I paid the $80, and I can it's literally, I'm just paying $80 to go in and hit a bag anytime I want. Now it's classes. But the cool thing is, even if I needed to get 25 minutes in of just hitting a bag on my own time, I can go in there. I don't have to, if a class isn't going on, there's like, I mean, it's a whole room with just hanging bags
Yeah,
everywhere. There's like 100 bags hanging in this massive room. Um, so I just went in and started the class. And like I said, the first couple times I was like, wow, this is really intense. But every time I left, I felt super great. So I just kept at it, because it was a great outlet for me to, I don't know, there's something about 60 minutes of just constant movement, and you can hit that thing as light as you want to, as hard as you want to. And it's almost like you kind of zone in, and that time is just you and that bag and all of your problems.
Oh
So
yeah, yep.
if I need to tell a few people to F off while I'm hitting a bag,
There you go. There you
like,
go. Perfect time. Yeah.
I can do that. And it's better to do that to the bag than to somebody else. So
Yeah.
that's
Do you ever
why I
get
gotta
to
do
like work with like a person and hit mitts or at all stuff like that?
That's more like, so it's like tiers. So like, I think you pay more to have like a trainer like that.
Oh, okay.
They'll sometimes do it. Like they'll come by the trainer as the class is going, because they have their mic on their headset on. As they're walking by, they'll hold up mitts and they'll kind of pick random people just to keep it interesting.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but no, when you're paying the basic like fee, it's like a group class. So, and there's like 50 people in there, like, and of course they're all spread apart enough and whatnot. But, I think now they're down to like half capacity though, just because of COVID and whatnot. So
Right. They don't have to wear masks in there, do they?
oh no, I mean you wear masks upon entry, but then
after.
Yeah, once you get to your locker and you can put your mask in your locker, and then you go to the bag and you're good.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
Because here, I think you got to wear it the whole time.
No, not here.
I'm like,
I'm surprised people haven't passed out.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, how is that healthy? How is someone supposed to be running on a treadmill with a mask on, huffing and puffing that thing?
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? It's crazy.
If that was the case, I probably wouldn't go. And no disrespect to people who wear masks. I'm just like, I ain't about to sweat and,
I know. That's why I have my own gym in my house. I just go to the basement. I don't have to worry about all that other stuff.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, have you been, like, have you been bodybuilding like since? I've seen some things randomly on Facebook and Instagram. Like, is that just your own workout routine, or do you compete?
I competed 2 years.
Okay.
2013, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Where I took 2013, I did a show by myself. I had no coach. I had no one telling me what to do.
Yeah.
I learned how to pose online. I just watch YouTube videos. And and then 2014, I got a coach. And then she just told me what to do, and I did it. Told me what to eat, and I ate it. And then, I got down to, I was 3% body fat in that show. Yeah, it was crazy. I cried because I was so thirsty. That's how dehydrated I was. Yeah, it's not the healthiest sport.
Really?
Yeah.
So why is it just because of the lack of fat content or something? I don't know how all that works.
Well, so the reason to dehydrate yourself, so say like a week before the show, maybe less than a week, couple days out from the show, I'm drinking gallons of water because it's hooking on all the water molecules in my body, like under my skin and stuff like that, right? So then you get closer to the show, then you start pulling it. You start pulling the water. And then I'm also taking diuretic too to help pull more water out. Yeah. So I'm pulling. So my skin gets thinner.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So if you pick up your skin on your arm or something, it just snaps right back. Mine hung up there for a while.
Oh wow.
That's how I had no water molecules under my skin. And so that's probably the most unhealthy part about bodybuilding.
Yeah.
But other than that, what they eat and stuff like that is it's pretty cut and dry. It's nothing too crazy about it.
That's crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to be that. I wouldn't have ever suspected that.
It put me somewhere different mentally, So now it's like I know I can do that. Yeah, I can get there to that place, But then after that year is when I got engaged. We went looking for a house and all that kind of stuff. All life was happening. Yeah, and I couldn't just give my whole life to bodybuilding like I was those past couple of years.
Sure.
So after that, and then I started focused on being more of a trainer. And now it's just about having fun doing the podcast, and I have a online retail store. I sell health supplements.
Oh, nice.
Stuff like that. It's not like a pyramid scheme type of thing. It's my own. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm using different. Sure. I'm using different people's companies, but
Yeah.
it's companies that I think are that have integrity and have morals and
Sure.
stuff like that. And the kind of supplements that I like I try everything before I even sell it.
Right.
Like I'm making sure that I use it first. But yeah, so that's about what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So, and that's
That's cool.
just bodybuilding got me to all that.
Yeah. That's
It
cool.
opened tons of doors and it's been a ride. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. But
That's awesome.
it's funny. I was telling my wife about you, and I was like, oh yeah, he was on American Idol. She was like, nah. So I was like, yeah. So I went and YouTubed it. I didn't realize it was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
That's wild
Whole
because that
nother
was when
life.
Simon Cowell and Paula Abdul and Randy Jackson were on there.
OG crew.
That's crazy.
Now,
So what was that? What was that kind of like journey like through that whole situation?
um, so like I said earlier, once I found music, it was like that was it for me. I wanted to. Obviously, I had seen the first season of American Idol. I had actually watched on television was Fantasia Barrino's season. She won, but that was like Jennifer Hudson was that season. Like,
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, all the really good like powerhouse vocals. And then the next year, we fully watched from start to finish. That was the year Carrie Underwood won. And my parents, if I'm not mistaken, I think like they know. Well, they know my dad knows her youth pastor from growing up, but I think they might kind of know her parents somehow because they went to the church that my dad was friends. So when they found out she was auditioning, I think that was kind of an incentive for my parents to like, oh wow, like they kind of knew that this was, like when you know somebody that knows somebody, you're like, oh, that's cool.
Right.
So she was on the show and obviously won, and then I couldn't audition the next. It was like I still wasn't old enough to audition because that was 2004, so it was 14. You could audition at 16, and I went when I was 17. So September of 2007, or no, August of 2007. I went to Philly, auditioned, did that whole cattle call style thing that they used to do, just like you see on, TV. In the big arena, there was like 30,000 people in Philly that day.
Mm.
And I was about halfway through, and I made it through the first round. And then I got called back 2 days later and sang for the executive producers. And that whole scenario is just like you see on TV. So on my side of the where the cameras were is exactly what you see. Like the set was just like what you see on TV. But in the executive producer round, on the flip side, where Paula and Randy and Simon usually sit, is there was like 60 people like sitting in the room watching me.
Jeez.
And it was like 7 producers at a table: Nigel Lithgow, Ken Warwick, a couple of guys from Sony, one guy from London, a couple other guys, I don't know who they were, all like executive label people, Fremantle Media. And then everybody behind them was all the supervising producers that were there the first day, camera people, lawyers, like so you're like literally, I was singing to like a crowd of 60 people is what I was doing. And then obviously their tables up front. And that's where I really got grilled, was they had me sing a couple songs. They really like pushed the like, wanted to know where I was from. So that felt more like the real audition. And I think most people have kind of figured this out by now because the show has freaking been around for like 20 something years.
Yeah.
So everybody like who's gone to these auditions knows what it's like. And people do tutorials on YouTube on how to audition for American Idol. So then what you saw on TV was actually literally, I came back 3 days later and did the same exact thing that I did prior to that. But this time I was doing it in front of the celebrity judges. And it wasn't scripted. Like I didn't go in. They might have been scripted. I don't know. They didn't tell me to like say anything specific. They said, you're just going to go in and sing this song that you sang for us on Wednesday or whatever. And I auditioned for the judges on Sunday. And so when I went in, I sang my song and Simon talked to me for a little bit. And Randy actually got up and walked away because you only see like a quick blurb of what actually happened.
Yeah.
He had to get something, and then they came back, and then they were kind of mingling and talking for a little bit to each other, like for like a couple minutes. Like I was just standing there. It was kind of awkward because like I didn't know what to do. But they
Right.
were just kind of like, you know, like this to each other, and I was like, what is going on right now? And then they had me sing the song again, same song, and then I got my yeses, and then they hand you my ticket, and then what you saw of me coming out the door on TV, that's exactly how it happened. And then you just kind of talk with a bunch of lawyers and my parents, because I was a minor still at the time. I wasn't 18 yet. So my parents had to meet with a bunch of lawyers. We had to sign paperwork. My family, everybody that lived in our house, so my brothers, me, my parents, and then we had, we call her like our adopted sister. Brittany was living with us for a little while. We all had to sign like mounds of paperwork
Wow.
saying we couldn't say anything because, you know, for, you know, obviously you can't leak stuff on the show, or
Right.
you're liable for like up to so many $1 million or whatever. So that was kind of a, you know, I mean, that was my first time I'd ever been. I mean, that's kind of a big deal, you know, especially for someone coming from Delaware. I mean, I feel like if I had made American Idol then as a 17-year-old in Dallas, Texas, nobody would have cared. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, who?
Your voice is like two different people from now to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and your voice really doesn't change until you're like, you know, I mean, fully developed, I guess, until you're 30 or something. I don't know. But yeah, I really wanted to do it. And it's funny, since then it was a good experience for me. And obviously going to Hollywood, and I went to Hollywood, and like 2 months later, they flew me out. I was there for a whole week, made it past 2 rounds. And then I sang the first round and made it, second round and made it. And then I got cut after that. Since then I've actually been asked to audition. In fact, 3 years ago, they came to Nashville and asked me to audition. I got an email from one of the producers, and they said, "Hey, we're coming to Nashville, and we want to audition you. So meet us here at this time." And of course, I auditioned. I had a private audition. I didn't have to go through all the like stuff, because they kind of keep I have a feeling, from what I've gathered, and other friends I have a lot of other friends who have done the show, who've made a lot of my friends that I'm still in touch with today from the show, that they kind of keep a roster, I think, of previous contestants to kind of bring back.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know, anybody that's listening to this that would ever consider doing something like American Idol and The Voice, I would always say go for it. I would never turn down an opportunity to get exposure, but I will say that, you know, it's definitely a different time to audition for something like that than it was when I was doing it. Because when I was doing it, they didn't have shows like that, really. American Idol was the singing competition. And then, of course, America's Got Talent, and then X Factor, and The Voice, and all these other shows started coming out. And they're all great. And again, I would never say don't try something. But I think that it was the season. It was great for what it was then. But I don't know that I would do it again. Because there's so much more involved now, and it's a television show. You know, it's not really a singing competition. But my experience was great. It was great, and I'm very, very happy that I did it. I don't have any regrets there.
Yeah, I've always wondered how some of the things worked, because, like, so this past season, before all the COVID hit, during the auditions and stuff, I don't know if you still watch it or not.
Mm-mm.
No, it's one of my favorite shows, so I watch it all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, during the auditions, I don't know, they're probably acting. I think they were acting the whole thing out. Like, they just pulled this girl off the street. Like, she wasn't registered or anything.
Yeah.
She's like, I've just been waiting here, you know, I was just gonna come in after the line goes down or something like that.
Yeah.
And then Ryan heard her sing on the street and just like took her in.
Yeah.
Without having a number or anything. I was like, I think they planned that. I don't think there's, you know what I mean? I think that's for TV.
I mean, I can't speak to whether or not they planned that. I think some of it is planned. I think some of it's not. I mean, definitely I know this. When they were, I don't know, do they still have bad people audition?
You don't see as many as you used to. But
Yeah.
yeah, you'll see
Well,
a
yeah.
couple.
Yeah, because I mean, they used to have episodes come out like when they would do those like in between weeks where they didn't have like a new episode, they would do like these like highlight episodes, is what they call them,
Yeah.
and it would be like the worst auditions of American Idol. And I think some people like knew going in that they were doing it for, like, there was one guy from Delaware. He dressed, it was my season. He dressed up as Princess Leia from the last Star Wars movie, that like gold bikini looking
Oh my
outfit she had on or
gosh.
whatever. He dressed up like that, but he did it on purpose
Yeah.
to get attention. But then there was another girl who auditioned that she was told the whole way through she was good, and then when she got to the judges, she was told, obviously Simon humiliated her.
Mm.
Um, and so you kind of go, oh, gee, like, I mean, they do tell you before going in. I mean, you have to sign a paper before going in that they can use your name, your likeness, your image, anything that you want, they want to use that they have of you on footage or any audio. They can use it all, and you cannot sue them for it. So
Mm-hmm.
when you sign that paper, it's not, if you say something stupid or do something, they can use that if they want. So that is the downside to it, is you have to know, like, going into this, like, even if you think you're great, and I've watched a lot in Hollywood. I learned, I don't know if you know an artist named Tori Kelly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's one of my favorite people. I've actually never met her enough to. I've in passing, I've kind of met her, but I don't even know that she would remember who I am. But she was on season 9, and I was at an audition that she was at, and I remember hearing her sing, and I was like, "This girl's gonna win the whole show. Like, she's just gonna. I don't. That's it." And as you see, on season 9, I think it was season 9 of American Idol, she didn't even make it to the live rounds. So there's always, of course, now she's doing what she's doing, and I'm sure she's grateful that that's the way God took her.
Right.
But, yeah, there's always in some kind of like agenda, because I've had, they've called me back a few more times, like, throughout the years, and I've gone to, certain cities. In fact, right before we moved to Nashville, I went to Boston. Janie went with me. I had an audition, and they were pretty, each round was like, yeah, like, this is, yeah, this is great, this is great, this is great. And then it would be like crickets.
Yeah.
So I have learned not to take those things personally. And that's why I was saying earlier to people, it's a different, you can't take that kind of stuff too much to heart, because it's just so unpredictable what they're going to want and predict, right, or what they're going to need for the show. And, but I mean, hey, if they keep bumping you through and you keep getting exposure, like, if you don't have something going for you already as an artist and you don't have any other choice, I would say absolutely go for it. And if they keep bumping you all the way and you keep going, just go with it. Just ride the wave. But don't, if you're picking up momentum, don't necessarily throw all that away for
and I
TV.
think with that kind of business too, it's something like you have to stay humble, and you can't like take to heart what every person's gonna say.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And you always just have to keep doing what you do. And if you believe you're good enough, like, you'll get it no matter when it's gonna happen.
That's
right. You know
what
I mean? And just realize and remember that you don't know everything.
That's right.
Because then, you have the right person say something to you, then you start getting a big head, and then, and then you stop learning because you think you already know it all.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem.
I had to learn that after my Idol experiences. I kind of had to realize, like, because when you go from being on what at the time was the number one show in America, and I mean, they didn't even air, I mean, they only aired my audition for like 20 seconds. It's not like it was on there multiple times. It's so funny because people go, "Oh my gosh, I remember you." And I go, "No, you don't." I'm like, "No, you don't." Because unless you were just a diehard fan of American Idol, there is no way you remember 20 seconds of me on TV. But yeah, I kind of had to go through a little bit of in college of like, nobody really cares about this. And I don't think it was from a place of like, it's not like I went around like I was on American Idol. In fact, if anything, I didn't like that people talked about it so much, because I wanted to be known for more than just the fact that I was on American Idol. but it's still, you know, um, yeah, I definitely had a few moments with the Lord where I was like, all right, I need to let this one go. So I still talk about it. I still answer the, question, obviously, and I don't mind when people ask me. But I definitely, like, now when I go into auditions and stuff, or like it's not on my resume, I don't put that I was on America. I don't do that. I don't. If I talk to label people, I don't say. I mean, they'll probably, if they Google me, you'll see that's like one of the first things that comes
Mm-hmm.
up. Um, but yeah, I don't talk about it to because it's just not what I with music people like I've never gone into a co-write and they've asked where did you get your start in music. I don't bring up American Idol usually.
Right.
So but I don't mind when people ask, and I've had several people over the years ask me just because they're going to audition or they know somebody that's auditioned. And now I feel like I can't even speak to how to audition because my experience was so vastly different from you know what they're doing these days because the whole process is different.
And then I like to finish these things up by asking, like, where's your mindset at, and what's your motivation to keep going and to keep for you, like making music and doing all that kind of stuff. Like, what pushes you to keep doing that?
Yeah. I That answer has changed recently, and I would say that the biggest thing for me is when God gives you a gift, steward it wisely. Um, every one of us has something that God has specifically given us. Even if it's similar to what other people, I mean, there's so many musicians in this town, it would be very easy to just throw in the towel and say, I'm done because there's so much. I mean, there's 36,000 registered songwriters in Nashville.
Mm.
That's a lot of people to compete with. Um, so my motivation is first and foremost Christ. My second motivation is obviously my wife and my family, and wanting to provide for them and just wanting to be an excellent human being regardless of what I'm doing. But man, I since I was a kid, I've just known this is what I wanted to do and what I was good at. And um, knowing even when I've tried other things and I've pursued other jobs. I mean, not to just ramble on, but like I took a big career test a few years ago and like entertainer was on there, but like one of the biggest things was like lawyer and like physical therapist. And I was like, I just would not be happy doing that. Even if
Right.
my temperament I probably would make a great lawyer. But I don't want to do that. And that's also not what I know God's called me to. So while I don't know what the next steps look like, while I can't tell you what 10 years from now is going to look like. Um, I know that that the gift is there and I'm open to however God wants to use that. And so as each opportunity presents itself, I run with it. So if that's writing, if that's releasing music, I'm setting goals for myself right now. I have pretty much the next year mapped out of what I want to do with music. And so what I've done is I've taken that to God and I've said, this is what I want to do. And I partner with God, which I think is so important, that we partner with God, not just demand things of God or the opposite, sit on our couch and wait for God to tell us what to do.
Right.
I think partnering with God is key. So as I've partnered with Him in what I want to release, what I want to say, what I want to do, how I want to go about things, He kind of He guides me through that process. And some people might ask, well, what does that look like, the guiding process? And I just say, when a door opens and it's clear that it opens, go through it. And if it closes, be okay with that. And even if it's something you really, 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 really wanted and He closes that door, just be okay with it because you don't know what's on the other side of something that you really, really want. And once you have that, and if it's not the right thing, you definitely don't want to be in that place. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm and just people. I mean, I meet so many people and I have so many stories. I mean, I drove Lyft for 4 years and I really wanted, I met so many people in Lyft rides and I have story after story after story after story after story. And so that's definitely going to come out in my songwriting. Um, and I just want to write music that I want to be a storyteller in pop music, which I think is kind of a rare thing. I don't know if you know of an artist named JP Sachs, but he's kind of doing a lot of that right now.
Okay.
So he's definitely someone to look up. He just did that big song with Julia Michaels called "If the World Was Ending." But yeah, that's the goal. That's my motivation. So
I actually have another question. It just came
Yeah.
up to me. Um, so with being like a God fearing man and having the faith that you do, you know, you see a lot of artists that struggle being called like Christian artist or Christian
Yeah.
rapper or Christian. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, do you think that'll affect you at all? Like people were just labeling you as a Christian, whatever,
Because of,
just
you mean
because of
because
you?
I'm outspoken about my faith?
Yeah,
Um, I mean, if they do, it's like, okay, like I'm, that's where the not caring part comes in so much. And I think if anything I've learned this year, you can really not give a flip about what somebody thinks and still be very compassionate.
right.
And that was hard before
Mm-hmm.
because for someone like me who is, I could be very reactive because I speak out loud, I think out loud. Um, I it was hard for me to kind of rein in my feelings when I didn't like what somebody said, and I would be very verbal about it. And now I'm just at a point where I'm like, when people want to like poke at things or pry, which I don't really get that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would. It's actually funny. I would get that more in Lyft rides than I would in my everyday life because people would ask what I do, and you pick up all types of people. Um, so if I said anything that was remotely about God or anything, I mean, not that I was just like bringing it up, it would be a very natural thing.
Right.
People would say, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh yeah, we live here, we attend the Belonging, which is our church, whatnot. People would sometimes I would get like, I don't even want to call it like persecution because it's not persecution, but like, you know what I mean? Like where people like
Just try to put it down
just,
or something.
yeah, they would, be negative about it or
Mm-hmm.
throw it down or say something to kind of just, make you upset. And so I don't really know. I haven't really run into that a whole lot. Maybe it's because of the circles I hang out in. I don't really, I go to church with a lot of really beautiful people that by beautiful, I mean on the inside and outside,
Mm-hmm.
that are creating art, that love the Lord, that, and I also, I have to remember that I can't be responsible for other people because there are definitely, and I'm not saying this to throw anybody under the bus, but it just, I guess what I'm saying is I want to bring perspective to the table for people to see that there's a lot of Christian artists out there that aren't living what they say.
Oh, of course.
And there's a lot of pop artists that aren't necessarily singing about Jesus in the way that you would, a Christian artist would, that are on their knees and face every day before God, handing their life back over to Him consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have to hand my life back over to God every day and trust that, I'm going to put music out that is relatable to people. And, because I mean, you ask a very good question. There are several pop artists right now on the market, without mentioning any names, that are Christians that are not modeling what they say they believe. And I don't say that to say, I can't believe they're not doing, I don't want to be pharisaical and point out everybody's wrongdoings when I'm here a sinner myself. However, if we're going to walk in integrity, whether you're a believer or not, I think everybody would say walk with character and integrity.
Right.
And if you're going to walk in integrity, I think it's important that what you say you believe lines up with what you sing about. And again, it doesn't have to be like, even with Just As You Are, there's that line like, you've got that love like an ocean, I'm sinking in, carried away by the waves that your body gives. And It's a sexy line.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a married man singing about my wife. I felt like when we wrote this, I really evaluated it. And I was like, this isn't something that I think is going to cause somebody to go do something they shouldn't do.
Right.
Like,
Right.
this is like, it's a simple love song. Now, if I'm out there singing about things that, contradict my life, then I can't really say I believe what I believe. Right.
Right. Yep.
So that's really what it's about for me. It's not so much about like, they sang this song and they're a Christian. It's like, is what you're singing, does it line up with what you believe? Because you can't say you believe something and then live a whole nother way. That's really what it boils down to.
Right. And a lot of the thing, like the big thing that my favorite rapper right now is NF. So his thing, yeah, man. I mean, his thing is like all the stuff he talks about, they're like, oh, how is he a Christian rapper if he's talking about this? I'm like, well, people who believe in God aren't perfect, man. They're gonna
Right.
have anxiety. They're gonna have panic attacks. They're gonna
Yeah.
have issues mentally,
Yeah.
like, and they've gone through experiences just like everyone else.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But then
You
people
know,
label him as a Christian rapper because
mhm.
he believes in God. He can't just be
Have
a
you
rapper.
heard of John Bellion?
I heard the name, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he sings about, I mean, everything from his. I mean, he wrote a song recently where he literally was talking about his struggle with masturbation,
Hmm.
and he's a married man, and like why that was like a struggle for him.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, I don't know where he's. I mean, I've never outright heard him say, but like just from things he said, like he sounds like someone to me that has faith in some way.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's what I believe or like it just. I think the world needs more of that. Um, you know, I mean, the next song that I'm coming out with, and I know we're like kind of over time here, but it's, I mean, it's not like super deep, like in the way that some of John Bellion's stuff is, but it's definitely I'm talking about being stuck in a place of like, what do I do with what I left over here and what's left of me is basically the premise of this song. And, you know, some people would look at that and go, well, if you're a believer, you shouldn't have to be worried about being stuck and like you should know who you are in Christ and all this stuff. And I kind of just go, look, I got to sing about what's my being a Christian does not mean being happy all the time. Like
Oh
you're just not
yeah.
going to sing songs that are like, yes, my joy is unspeakable, you know, and it's deep rooted, but my gosh, like, you know, people, you know, if you're going to listen to me as an artist, I would say 80% of my songs that are released in the next few months, say I have, you know, 6 or 7 songs out on an album by next year, I would say 80% of them are probably going to be about sad times that I've been through.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, because you know, and even if they're upbeat, they might have the premise of the song is going to be, you know, I mean, the hell that we went through in our marriage with finances and different, and I won't directly talk about
Oh, of
finances, but
course, right.
it'll relate, you know, it'll be about
Be lyricized like in
yeah
lyric form,
arguments
right?
that we've
Yeah.
had and things that, you know, people want to hear about that because they just want to know that there's other people out there in the world that are like them that go through stuff like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just listened to a podcast with the lead singer of Korn,
Yeah.
and he was talking about their last album, and he was like, that was one of the hardest I had to make because he gets his thoughts and feelings on paper.
Yeah.
He was like, a lot of people believe in God, they believe in this, that, and the third, but I get my issues out on paper. And
Right.
I guess he had his wife overdosed or something like that. So he had to
Yeah.
struggle with that and get through that. He was like, it's the hardest thing I've
Yeah.
ever done.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine, you know what I mean? And I don't
Mhm.
think people understand that artists do that.
Yeah.
Like NF, like that's his therapy
Yeah.
is to write his words down on paper and
Yeah.
to speak them into existence into the mic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you can make
Mhm.
of it what you want, but like the one song, the one where he cries about his mom at the end. He's like in the studio and they just left him.
Is this the lead singer point? His first name is Brian, right?
No, that was
Is
the
that Brian?
guitarist.
That's the guitarist. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that found God and like left the band and
Yes.
stuff like and then
Yes.
he
Yes.
come
Yes.
back.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But
Gotcha.
but yeah, but like NF had that song where he just cried and he left it in there. I was like, yo, I think that's the coolest thing to be able to feel
Yes.
comfortable with that as an
Yes.
artist, you know, and just to do that.
Yes.
So
Absolutely. Yeah. It's I love NF. He has a song with an artist named Ruel on one of his most recent albums. And I'm blanking now. It's a fantastic song. But yeah, NF's great, man. Yeah, the artists like that, John Bellion, JP Sachs, they're all very like authentic, cut and dry, tell it how it is, which I love.
yeah.
But
Yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Absolutely. I appreciate you asking me. It's been, gosh, I don't even know when the last time we talked. It's been probably a decade.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's probably
Yeah.
when the last time I saw you, I think I was actually at your house
Yeah.
because I used to
In
hang out with
Smyrna.
Caleb and my brother.
Yeah. Yep.
Dag on, man, it's
It's
crazy.
crazy.
But yeah, man, I hope all is well out in Tennessee, and hope you guys, I wish you guys all the best, and
Thank you.
hope God just keeps working you guys' life, and just you guys stay happy and stay healthy.
Yeah. You too.
Yeah,
You too,
man.
buddy.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, see you.
See ya.
I know that we both got history. Somehow you're still a mystery.